What's up, Dragon Brood? Today we are starting our series of deck lists to take care of you as we get into Crimson Vow. Bunch of standard lists are going to be coming out. We're going to be doing them 2 or 3 a day, however many I can get done and get out to you. But our goal is to have somewhere between 10 and 15 deck lists available for you by the time we get to the release of Crimson Vow next Thursday. So be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any of these. Now, what I'm going to try to do is I'm also going to try to spread the decks out where you're going to get some deck lists that are going to be existing decks that get an upgrade from maybe 1 or 2 cards out of the set. So if you already have one of the existing decks, you don't have to go and craft a whole bunch of new cards. You can just make, 6 to 8 copies of some things, and then you can go ahead and play the deck you're already good with. But we'll also have some that are going to take advantage of a lot of new cards. So we're going to start with one of the easier ones here. We're going to have Monowhite Humans. We're going to take a look at what cards are going to be added to this from Crimson Vow and things that we think might change it up a little bit from what exists today. So let's take a look at this Monowhite Humans list with Crimson Vow. Okay, now going over this list, we're not going to be doing anything you're not expecting, right? It's just a matter of what new cards fit the style of deck we're trying to play. Now, we already know that mono white aggro is a popular strategy, and we're trying to take that angle, but seeing if we can focus it on humans and get a little bit of extra power out of it, kind of to take advantage of where we think the format might be going. Because I will say this about any list you see between now and even up to, I would say, a week after set release, understand that a lot of it is still part of a ever-changing metagame that people are going to be learning a lot of cards. Different decks are going to come to the forefront in that time. So feel free to make changes as you see necessary. So we're going to start out playing 4 Chaplain of Alms. And the reason we're going with this is 1, it is a human, but 2, it does have ward, which makes it hard to kill. And 3, it actually comes back as a creature on the backside. It does cost 4 mana, but that's fine. You get a spirit that flies. But on the front side, it does have first strike, and that's actually really good because we have several things to pump our creatures, and that means you're going to be able to get more damage in, which is very good. Then we're going to play 2 Paladin class, mostly because we have a couple of things that aren't necessarily humans, so we want to be able to pump stuff. But again, being able to get that extra damage is a big deal. And I think some people forget about the hidden, not hidden first ability on Paladin class, and it actually makes all spells cost 1 more on your turn from your opponent, which means it's harder to remove your creatures. So we're going to play a couple of those. And again, so far, these are all cards that already exist. This list is only going to have a few new cards in it. We are going to play 4 Usher of the Fallen. This is a 2/1 for 1 mana, which, great. Not a human, it's a spirit. However, you can make human tokens with it, which is really good. So you can pay 1 in a colorless whenever it attacks, make a 1/1 human token. Several of you are probably playing this in a lot of different lists. Makes sense, the card's just good. Going along with that, we're going to play Intrepid Adversary. This card pumps all your creatures, so we're going to go ahead and take advantage of that. Love it. Nothing wrong with this. It also has lifelink. Great. Luminarch Aspirant. This is one we probably talk about a ton on this channel, that if you've seen it, if you haven't played it, I don't know where you've been. Not a lot to say there. Now, Rally of the Ranks. This is the thing, we are playing 3. We're not playing 4 just because I wanted to make enough room for some copies of Paladin class, so kind of had to squeeze some numbers a little bit. But with Rally of the Ranks, we can just choose humans. All of our humans will get +1/+1, which again means that if your Usher of the Fallen makes a token, it's going to be a 2/2 token. It's going to make Chaplain of Arms a 2/2 first striker. It just really helps all the way around. Sun Gold Sentinel. This is our next card here. We're playing 3 copies of Sun Gold Sentinel, and this feels like it's going to be a more important card than it was in the previous standard. A few times I saw this card pop up. We played it in a couple of lists here on the channel, but the truth is this card could be even more powerful going forward. There are some cards that return stuff from the graveyard. There's going to be more disturbed spells being played, which is very big, and probably some of the different spirit decks. There's some zombie stuff that may care about it. There's just a bunch of cards that are going to possibly be caring about the graveyard, and this gives us the opportunity to remove a lot of those problematic cards. Even more so, we're talking about possibly Azorius Control getting bigger, and they play a lot of flashback spells. Leer decks are out there, so getting rid of 1 or 2 of those things before a Leer shows up could be powerful. And then this also has the ability of just getting protection and being able to attack, right? So it has that going forward as well, and you will be able to get creatures of all different powers, so it shouldn't be too hard to activate this. But a card that's been largely overlooked, but a 3/2 for 2 is very good, and it has a really good upside on its abilities. Now, one of the new cards that everybody got excited about, obviously, is getting to see Thalia. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, it's a 1 colorless and a white for a 2/1 first strike. Non-creature spells cost 1 more, which is also one of the reasons we're playing a very large number of creatures, because we don't want our stuff to cost more, just our opponents. And this is good too, because when you're looking for a way to just buy an extra turn, maybe keep your opponent from being able to remove a creature they want, or being able to cast that, I don't know, Doomscar that they may have already exiled with Foretell, right? You want to make it cost 1 more, 2 more, whatever, just to give you a turn to get 4 more damage in, 5 more damage in, right? And just put the opponent on the back foot, making their spells cost more. It seems small, but a lot of times that 1 extra mana is going to be very big. Then we're playing 2 copies of Adeline. This is kind of the fancy art, but Adeline is very good. 3 mana, an X4, where X is equal to the number of creatures you control. You attack with creatures, you get an extra 1/1 human token, which is awesome. Not really much to say otherwise, though. Like, it's just really, really an all-around good card. It's always a problem. Your opponent has to deal with it immediately. And the best part about it is it's a type of card that you don't necessarily have to commit a lot to the board to be able to take advantage of it. So if you don't want to overcommit, because we're going to be in a world where there's going to be a lot of sweepers, this alone can let you build a little army by itself. Also happens to be a human, by the way. We're going to be playing Elite Spellbinder. Also happens to be a human. It's a human cleric. 3/1. I think we've played this enough to know better. It takes a card out of your opponent's hand, makes it cost more for them to cast it. Then one of the other new cards we're going to play, because again, we don't have a ton of new cards in this list. We're trying 3 copies of Savior of Olenbach. This is a 3 mana, 1/2. It has training, which means whenever it attacks, if something larger attacks alongside it, it gets +1/+1. Whenever it attacks, you do get to remove a creature from the battlefield, which is pretty awesome, or from the graveyard. So this is actually pretty sweet. And the reason is you kind of get the advantage of, again, removing things from the graveyard if you don't want your opponent to have access to them. But also, it seems like, I think there are going to be some times it looks like it's going to be worse than a lot of the other cards, but the ability to repeatedly do this is important enough that your opponent is almost priced into having to deal with this. Now, admittedly, in a lot of cases, I would say you don't want to play this card because it's only going to be a 2/3 when it attacks. However, when you have Luminarch Aspirant, when you have Intrepid Adversary, when you have Rally the Ranks, right? All these things are making that bigger, so it's very possible this may be attacking as a 3 or 4 power creature. If this is the case, then it's going to become even harder for your opponent to block it, because you can remove their best blocker. And now they're kind of priced into, well, I have to put something in front of the Olenbach to not have to get something else removed next turn, right? So while it seems kind of convoluted and kind of weird, could be a big deal. So we're going to give it a chance and just see if it works. And then we're playing 1 copy of Cemetery Protector. This is 2 colorless, white, 3/4, flash, which is important. When it enters the battlefield, you can remove a card from the graveyard. Then every time you play a card of that type, you get a 1/1 human. Simple enough, nothing real fancy there. Not bad. Whenever you get it later, after some things are in the graveyard, every creature you play can end up being a thing. Because if you notice this list, we're playing almost all creatures. Except for the enchantments that are pumping our creatures, this is almost all creatures, right? So the goal here is just keep the pressure coming, right? We have some flyers, we have some lifelinkers, we have things that are pumping our team, we have first strikers, we have creatures coming back from the graveyard, we're removing stuff from opponent's yard. So this is playing just a bunch of utility cards, really putting pressure on your opponent at every turn. And the best thing about it is, though sweepers can be problematic, when you have 30 plus creatures, you can just go for it, right? You don't even have to worry about overcommitting. You can play 3 or 4 things and then have 2 or 3 ready to go right after that. So we're going to see if that holds up the way we wanted to. As far as lands, we're playing 4 Faceless Havens because we're playing single color, so we don't need that many. And then the rest are just snow-covered plains. We're not getting too fancy with it. We're keeping it nice and simple and then getting in there. But that's it. Simple enough. Mono white humans. That's where we're going out right out of the gate. If you want to try it, This cool part about this list is that everything mostly exists already. I think we're only playing, what, 7 copies of new cards? So not a lot of wild cards to spend, which is great. And it should be pretty easy to build for most people who've been playing Standard this season or have played Mono White aggro of some variety before then. So also cool. But if you could, check out my other channel, PowrDragn Reviews. Link will be down in the description. Have some fun stuff over there if you haven't checked it out. Also, be sure to check out the memberships, because for just 99 cents, you can go ahead and get to vote on things that are going to appear on this channel. We'll be putting this out next week, so y'all get to decide what videos and what games or what decks we're going to play games of as this season goes on. So y'all get to shape the format, or actually get to shape the content here as we play through the format, and maybe get to see the deck you want. Also, you have a chance to get your deck featured as well, so check out those details. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share, all that wonderful stuff. That's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.